Hello, traders. My morning video real quick. Seeing some warning signs setting up here in the markets, so just keep that in mind. We're going into some critical PMI data for tomorrow. And markets, we had some bad readings, economic data coming out of Japan and China overnight. Japan, so I'll do a global overview. I'll look at U.S. indices, some top ETF volume, and then I'll look at some earnings outlooks and maybe some stocks, top stock volume that I saw yesterday. Okay, let's get into Japan to begin with. As you can see, we're still in this range, but we came down to the lower end of the range. As of yesterday, Japan came out last night. If I can find it now. And they came out with the housing starts year on year, and they met the expectations were up 10.4%, and they had a negative 1.1%. Yeah, that's a major disappointment for housing starts. They said housing year on year. Well, Japan sold off on that news. You would have thought that would have been factored in, but that was the big news out of Japan yesterday. Okay, get back over here to my chart. Then we had China, Shanghai Composite. They came out with crappy PMI numbers. They held the range, though, luckily. But let me get into that real quick. Okay, basically what I'm seeing right here, wouldn't you know it, would have to zoom, wouldn't it? 1 second. There we go. We got a 49.2 read. And look back in time here. That is the lowest read so far on the Purchasing Managers Index out of China. And this is lower than October and November. And that's the number we're hitting right here. And these markets are at reference, at a significant resistance. So China's really in trouble here. It's going to be on a sell signal all day today, in my opinion. And then to make things worse, this is not nearly as important, but the non-manufacturing PMI, 54.3, that's the lowest read yet. So, well, December. I guess December did have, okay, 54.3, okay. At any rate, I thought it was the lowest read so far, but yeah, we're back below the January read. Okay, so we're back into the end of last year's read. So that is a little bit better, I guess, on that one. Shanghai Composites coming down. It broke out of this consolidation slightly to the downside. And keep in mind on these MACDs, they're all topping out. On all charts everywhere, these MACDs are topping out at these range highs. As far as the DAX is concerned, we are coming off the lows of the session, coming almost back to parity to the close on the DAX. So we are seeing a little bit of recovery out of Germany here. And of course, the MACDs aren't looking nearly as bad out of Europe. Actually, Europe seems to be improving. So that is a potential driving force, supportive force for the U.S. markets. Okay, so far this morning, the highest volume in our futures are the 10-year bonds. And we are back to the weekly parity, VPOC for this week. So we are not in any extreme situation on our bonds early this morning. That's a good sign. On our 2-year, I can get it to load here. We are coming off of range highs for our weekly value on our, I'm sorry, it's a little bit harder to get these changed out here. But we are coming off of range highs and a very tight range on our 2-year on our bonds. And then we have a responsive sell signal in the U.S. The U.S. equities are all down responsively today. And let me go and do the ETFs for those. 1 second. Now, as I want to point out here, you see this real tight wedge we've got going on here for the SPY? We broke out of that yesterday. So I wanted to start with that before I did anything else. And then, let me see here, do a manual. And we'll look out 2 weeks here. I know I got a lot of crud here on my thing. I got this primary up channel, and we're outside of this wedge pattern, basing sideways. And like I said before, the volume area is more important than the actual trend. And we're just trending sideways, it looks like right here on the daily. We closed right at our weekly volume point of control. But as I said, this morning we're getting a little bit of sell-off in the markets. So, versus we're just slightly below our weekly BPOC. So the markets are really not in that big of a jeopardy. And we're right below last week's close. So far the markets are holding in there, but we do have very important economic data hitting at 8:30 this morning. So I wanted to point that out. It's a lot easier seeing it this way. As you can see, the Qs are a little bit weaker versus the VPOC. And we had this primary up channel, and we're right down here testing the primary up channel and last week's close right here, right now in the Qs. And this that is something to worry about. I'll mention exactly why here in a minute, but I am concerned that the Qs might be leading to the downside today. And then finally, the Russell is just coming down a little bit away from this week's point of control. Okay, so it's holding up fairly well too. Okay, but it is the Russell is a little bit further away from the last week's close. So that's up till this point in the week, the Russell has been leading to the downside. But today we might actually see the Qs take the lead. So keep that in mind. Okay, I did a scan and for sectors, ETFs, sector ETFs that had above average volume yesterday. And all of these were at range highs because we know this market's been very hot here lately. So what gave me concern, an initial warning sign, we had above average volume in the XAR ETF, and it's aerospace and defense. And as we know in my prior videos, they have been using Boeing to elevate the markets and keep things all solid and cute and everything. And to see this ETF actually alerting with high volume at range highs, this is giving me concern, and it broke some trend lines. And so far, these are buy signals, but this was an initial warning sign to me that monies are starting to rotate out of the aerospace, and Boeing may actually find some responsive selling today. So just keep this one on your watch, okay? The next one I wanted to worry about, we have a sell signal in the SOX, the semiconductors. And that's why I was saying we are at that channel low on our NASDAQ, and we've actually got a sell signal setting up here on our semiconductors. So just keep that in the back of your mind, what's going on here. Whenever the X's are bullish, you're supposed to be buying, and the zeros, that's a selling pressure. So just keep that in mind, what's going on here in the SOX, okay? And then also, there's selling pressure going on in Nugget. That's 3 times gold miners. Okay? So there is some monies coming out of the gold miner space. And then we have our Copex copper miners. We don't actually have the sell signal yet, but it did come up on my scans with above average volume. And if you notice here, we have found responsive selling here, responsive selling here, responsive selling here. And now we may be finding responsive selling again on copper miners. So like FCX, okay? So that's something to keep on your watch on from my scans of yesterday. And the big one, that's your home builders. And we don't actually have the sell signal yet, but we are crossing out of some trend supports at range highs. And we might be setting up, and you can see there was a resistance high here before, and we came back into that resistance high yesterday. So our home builders might have topped out here and they're putting in higher volume at these highs, preparing for a greater move lower. Okay, So those are the sectors I want you to really have on your watch today for some continuation in bearish action. Those sectors should be the ones leading to the downside if the markets continue to shop for lower prices. Okay, here's what I'm seeing on Boeing. The markets are extremely hot, and I told you there was that initial signal that Boeing might be on a sell signal today. The weekly VPOC is still below that monthly trend resistance for the week. We're coming in today with the markets showing some relative weakness, and our volume VPOC has not even. We've had this breakout move to the upside, but the volumes are not supporting the higher valuations coming into today. And so if Boeing starts moving over here, we're looking at a major sell-off in these markets, and or a significant sell-off today in these markets. And this bothers me more than anything in these markets. In my first trade of the day, I'm planning on getting some Boeing puts for the day, as I do think we are going to be back testing this monthly trend line, and we are going to probably see some selling pressure all throughout today, because this is not a very good situation if the markets are on a sell signal. I've been waiting for 3 weeks for Amazon to show up on my scans, and guess what? Yesterday afternoon, Amazon finally got the volume it needed to come up on my scans. And so I actually took a swing long in the overnight session, thinking that, not expecting everything to fall apart over in North Korea and all this economic data to be so negative on the markets. I thought we were setting up for a breakout move in Amazon. Well, already it's crashing down this morning, and I'm very concerned what's happening with setting up here for Boeing. I really think that it's going to put some significant pressure in these markets this week. Being so far above the weekly volume point of control with the markets already down, it's a very worrisome situation in my book. As far as this morning goes, we do have JD's already. It looks like it's up this morning, but with the news coming out of China, I just cannot see that holding one bit. I haven't seen. Oh yeah, the earnings. The earnings were out are coming out this morning. I don't think they've actually hit yet, so keep that in mind. JD is coming out. The economic data out of China is not good, and they have been pushing this up into. This is a yearly virgin point of control, or a volume point of control. That's what they've pushed this up into. And if you go out on your weekly, you'll see what I'm talking about. No. Well, yeah, I don't have that study on here, but that is a weekly volume point of control that it's running into here. Keep that in mind that JD, they have been really pushing it up, thinking the problems in China were behind them, and the economic data is not supporting that thesis. Tesla is supposed to have some sort of big announcement. I think the markets are hoping that Elon's going to appoint somebody as CEO, and he's just going to step down as CEO and just do the what needs to be done inside the company. And they were really pushing us up. Now, I use Elliott wave analysis, and I actually have a bearish trend for Tesla going into this news, and the trend did not get violated on the close yesterday. So there was a mega rally in Tesla, and I know a lot of people took Tesla to the long side, but I actually have it in a downtrend. So just keep that in mind, that Tesla is coming into today, and there is news, and it's still at the highs of the session. So that's a good thing on that. Micron was it's selling off this morning, but like I said, semiconductors were given an initial sell signal, so Micron could significantly come in here. It's still in a bullish trend, so but it wouldn't take much for it to start breaking down and breaking the trend. And AMD's been super hot here lately, and actually with this open here, we are turning bearish on AMD. This is one of the It's right down here at the lows. So if the semis do start to sell off, the trend could turn bearish for AMD as early as today. So that is dangerous, being one of the main volume leaders. Microsoft is one that they've been using to support the markets. So far, it's holding a bid this morning, but on our initial signal here, it is below our 125 SMA on our Bollinger Bands. So a little bit of selling pressure there. Apple's just kind of going sideways as well. They've been using it to hold the markets as well. It's a little bit on the bearish side this morning. Like I showed you, Amazon. But we have some others. I'm getting a little too long in my video here. PayPal, Nvidia, Bank of America, Netflix. Netflix, I just don't like Netflix alongside. Caterpillar. Problems in China is directly going to impact Caterpillar. Okay? And so you're probably going to see responsive selling in Caterpillar today. That's probably going to be one of the strongest. We've already had downgrades hitting Caterpillar, and that responsive, we had this downgrade right here. Then they're trying to bid it back up. Then we had this data coming out of China. This thing could come crashing back down today. So this is not one of my bullish scenarios for Caterpillar. And then Intel's been a major. They've been using it to prop up the markets too. So, and like I said, this thing here is getting really lofty. We are at a swing high zone on Intel Corporation. It's getting a lot of bid because of the telecom conference this week. I don't think it's going to be significant selling pressure in Intel this week, but it's something to keep on your watch. And J&J and Nike continue to be on my watch. I still think Nike is going to roll over. They have huge China exposure, and it's still got a very bullish. It's right up here at 52-week highs. We actually put in a new high yesterday in Nike. So, but our MACD is not supporting continuation. Just keep that in mind. I got to stop here. I don't want these videos to be that long. Like the video if you like it. Please give me your analysis at the bottom, especially if you don't like it. And if you see stuff that I don't see, let me know. I plan on probably just taking my loss in Amazon this morning first thing, because after seeing what's going on with Boeing, I'm very, very worried we're going into the end of the week and Boeing's going to be coming crashing down. Okay, I'll talk to you guys later. Thanks a lot.